How does a bastard, orphan, son of a whore and a Scotsman, dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean by providence, impoverished and squalor, grow up to be a hero and a scholar? Hello everybody and welcome to History Abridged. It's history, just shorter. Today we're going to be talking about Alexander Hamilton, the first Treasury Secretary of the United States, war hero, and subject of the Broadway smash hit Hamilton. And obviously that last one's the most important one because it's just so cool. Anyway, Alexander Hamilton. Born in the Caribbean in either 1755 or 1757. Anyway, like a lot of historical figures, Alexander Hamilton was dealt a pretty crappy hand right off the bat. He was the product of adultery, his father left, his mother died, he grew up buck wild, life just wasn't all that much fun for Alex. Then when he was about 17 years old, a hurricane came and devastation reigned. His town was destroyed, but he survived and he wrote about it. He published an essay in a local gazette, which impressed the community leaders so much that they took up a collection just to send him to the mainland and get his education. He arrived in New York and enrolled in King's College. While he was there, he also joined the local militia company. On his own time, he studied military tactics, which led to him being promoted within that company, a command that he used to lead a raid to steal British cannons. He actually became captain of said unit, and he took part in several battles. This got him noticed by a lot of the higher-ups, and a whole slew of commanders wanted to hire him to be their aide-de-camp, but he was like, to be a secretary? I don't think so. A little while later, he was offered the same position, but the offer came from someone with more influence than Hamilton had ever met. George Washington himself. Hamilton decided he wasn't going to throw away his shot and accepted. As Washington's aide, Hamilton gained a lot of influence and reputation. He was involved in intelligence, espionage, diplomacy, negotiations, but it wasn't enough. Hamilton still wanted to fight, not right. In 1780, Alexander Hamilton married Elizabeth Schuyler. This elevated Hamilton's status even further, as the Schuylers were an extremely wealthy and influential family. Times were pretty good for Hamilton. He'd risen from nothing to be the right-hand man to one of the most important men in America. He was in a happy marriage that eventually produced 8 children. You'd think that would be enough, but the war wasn't done, and Alexander Hamilton was desperate to get back into combat. He even threatened to resign as Washington's aide-de-camp if he didn't get a command. The threat didn't work. Washington and Hamilton had a falling out, which resulted in Hamilton's resignation. However, it wasn't too much longer before Hamilton got his command. At the Battle of Yorktown, he commanded 3 battalions and fought alongside the French, forcing the British to surrender an entire army, basically ending the war. Once America was independent, Hamilton was appointed to Congress, where he spent several years. Unfortunately, he was constantly frustrated by Congress. He moved to New York and practiced the law, practically perfected it. In 1787, Hamilton attended the Constitutional Convention, where he proposed a whole bunch of his own ideas on how the government should work. Those ideas included the idea that elected presidents and senators should serve for life as long as they keep their noses clean. Understandably, a lot of people were skeptical of his ideas because they seemed a little too, British. While he wasn't entirely happy with the Constitution, Hamilton believed in it, and he believed in its ideas. So he teamed up with John Jay and James Madison to write a series of essays defending it, now known as the Federalist Papers. John Jay wrote about 5 of them. James Madison wrote 29, and Hamilton wrote the other 51. In 1789, George Washington became the first elected president of the United States. He named Alexander Hamilton the first Treasury Secretary of the United States. And that eventually led to him designing the country's entire financial system, which I'm not going to try to explain to you because just reading about it made my head hurt. And now for something much more primal. While his wife and children were upstate visiting family, Hamilton had an affair. He was almost exposed by his fellow politicians, but in an attempt to save face, he published an essay explaining what happened. This resulted in America's very first sex scandal. To be honest, I'm kind of surprised it took that long. Elizabeth apparently forgave him pretty quickly, but I'm sure for a time she just wanted him to burn. Following were a lot of years of intrigue and war and stuff. He conspired to prevent John Adams being elected president and failed. He was appointed senior major general, effectively head of the military during the Quasi-War. And during all this time, he was constantly throwing shade at Aaron Burr, which turned out not to be a good idea. Burr ran for president in 1800, but he was narrowly beat out by Thomas Jefferson, largely because Hamilton endorsed Jefferson over Burr, saying Burr was dangerous and, quote, a mischievous enemy. In 1804, Burr was running for governor of New York, and again was narrowly beat out because Hamilton endorsed his opponent over him. This was the last straw in Burr's mind, and he challenged Hamilton to a duel. Aaron Burr shot Hamilton in the chest, fatally wounding him. Now, in my research, I found a lot of different theories as to what exactly happened during the duel. In the musical, Hamilton uses the duel as kind of a suicide by cop sort of deal. Some say that Hamilton fired his pistol into the air, trying to put an end to the duel, but Burr shot him anyway. Some Some people say he just straight up missed and Burr shot him. Some people say he only fired as a reaction to being shot. And some people say he accidentally fired into the air because he had his gun set to the hair trigger option. I don't think we'll ever really know for sure. However, one thing we do know for sure is that Hamilton was a pretty brilliant person. The first Treasury Secretary, the head of the military, congressman, lawyer, this guy totally deserves a hip-hop musical based on his life. That was the life of Alexander Hamilton. Abridged. Thanks for watching.